Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the National Veterans Technical Assistance Center's webinar, Prevention Partnerships for Young Veterans, Local Veteran and Homeless Programs and Resources. My name is Cindy Borden. I'm the Director of Training and Technical Assistance for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, and we are one part of the NVTAC, who provides technical assistance to grantees for the Department of Labor's Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, also known as HVRP. We're really excited about this webinar today. As you can see from the slide here, we have a bunch of speakers who are excited to talk to you about what they do and how you can work with them on the local level to engage veterans. We are thrilled to have Marc McKenna from Student Veterans of America, Joe Cafferty from Team Rubicon, Alicia Downs with The Mission Continues, Evan Cantiello from Back on My Feet, and Brennan Mulaney from Team Red, White, and Blue. Before we get started, I do have a couple of logistical things to just explain and talk about how these webinars work. First of all, you may have noticed if you've been trying to talk to us that we cannot hear you. All of the phone lines have been muted, and that is so that the speakers can get through the content that they've planned for us. So you won't be able to ask questions by phone during the webinar. However, on your screen you will see a questions box that you can submit questions at any time during the webinar. If you have a question, you can send that question to us through that box. We will leave about 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for questions from the audience. If there are any questions that we're not able to answer because we run out of time, we will forward those questions on to the speakers and compile a list of answers and post them with the webinar itself. The webinar is being recorded and it will be available for viewing within the next, say, 24 to 48 hours. So you will be able to view it again if you want to do that, and we will also have a copy of the PowerPoint slides available. After the webinar is completed, there will be a pop-up survey asking you to spend a few minutes just to give us your feedback on the webinar itself. We really appreciate your feedback. We really take it to heart. We want these webinars to be as useful as possible for you. So please take those few minutes to complete that survey. You will also receive a follow-up email tomorrow. So if you don't have a chance to do the survey today, you can do it at that time as well. But again, the webinar will be recorded in its entirety and we will have that available for viewing. So with that, what I'm actually going to do is hand things over to our first speaker, and that is Marc McKenna from Student Veterans of America. Marc understands the challenges that veterans face when transitioning from the military because he was an instrument himself. He served as Student Veterans of America chapter leader at the University of Arizona chapter, which began his relationship with SVA. Marc decided that he wanted to take part in furthering the SVA mission, compelling him to sign on for a year of service as a chapter liaison AmeriCorps Vista member at the national headquarters. And after completing that year of service, he stayed on at SVA, helping to lead other chapter liaisons as an outreach coordinator. So with that, Marc, take it away.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here today. Can you guys see my screen right now? Can you see it, Cindy? I can see it, Mark. Okay, great. Let me just kick off this little slideshow here. Sorry. So, let me start off by just telling you guys who might be unfamiliar about Student Veterans of America. Student Veterans of America is a student-led, chapter-based, nonprofit grassroots organization which helps to connect student veterans with resources both on their campus and across the country. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but what that means is that we started as a group of a small group of about 20 chapters back in 2007 when the student veterans on their campus kind of naturally coalesced on MySpace, actually. I know that's now a defunct platform, but it was a way for them to network socially back in the day and figure out how to discuss various student veterans issues and advocate on behalf of them. And what ended up happening was those original 20 chapters ended up playing a vital role in creating the post 9/11 GI Bill as we know it today. So here are some stats about our constituency that might surprise you. 27% are women. Of the 27% of women that are student veterans, we actually have a higher percentage of women who are our chapter leaders. So it's around 34% of our chapter leaders across the country are actually female veterans themselves. 46% have children, 80% are over the age of 25, 83% attend a public institution, 45% are married, 90% are enlisted. So over 1 million of those student veterans that exist today who are using GI Bill benefits, actually 500,000 of them are on SVA campuses, meaning campuses with existing SVA chapters. So some of those stats might not be surprising to some of you, but I think they might be surprising to a lot of the general public. And what they tell them is that student veterans come to campus with a unique set of both skills and challenges as well. All this research could be accessed on our website at studentveterans.org. We have a wealth of research on there, including our Millions Record Project, which some of you might have heard of, which is some of the most comprehensive studies on the GI Bill that have ever been done. We're about to release the second bit of that study, actually called INVEST, the National Veterans Education Success Tracker. That'll be coming up at the end of the year. But I encourage you guys all to check that out on your own time. Here are some more stats that we're pretty proud of that we like to tout as an organization. As you can see, from 20 chapters back there in 2007, now there are we're actually near 1,400 now. I believe we crossed the 1,400 mark the other day, actually, so we're very proud of that. We've given away over $1 million in scholarships. We have given over $500,000 to campuses across the country to build vet centers through our Vet Center initiative. I'll get into that a little bit more later. And then we've given over $150,000 in our chapter grant program, which I'll also get into. And then we've also trained over 1,000 veterans on almost 800 campuses in 46 states through our Leadership Institute series, which I'll touch on briefly as well. So, as I mentioned before, we support student veterans in their chapters at their various campuses across the nation. We do also have individual programs, like I said, about scholarships. To participate in an individual program, you do not have to be part of an SVA chapter. You have to be a student veteran, but that's not a requirement of participation as an individual. So, if your campus doesn't have an SVA chapter, you are still allowed to reach out to us to participate in those individual programs, but we have a number of chapter-based programs as well, which I'll get into right now. Oh, before I move on, over here is a link to our chapter directory. So as a part of tying this into the grand scheme of this webinar, if anyone in any community is looking to connect to a student, an SVA chapter in their community, they can do so by clicking on that link and going to our chapter directory. It's a location-based, geographical Google Maps thing. So you can zoom into your local area and see how many chapters we have there, including getting contact information regarding the local chapter leadership and the chapter advisors, so you can reach out to them in order to connect with them. There we go. Now we're going to talk about some scholarships. So as I mentioned, we've given over $1 million in scholarships to 111 SVA scholars since 2011. I believe we've actually given a little bit more than that since this slide was created. But this right now, actually, we're in our fall scholarship cycle, so we're offering 8 different scholarships, which is totaling over $250,000 we're going to give to student veterans, which hopefully we'll be announcing here in this upcoming January at our national conference, which I'll touch on in a minute as well. Training Tomorrow's Leaders. This is about our Leadership Institute series, which we just wrapped up. It's a series of 9 regional summits we held across the country. As you can see from this little map over here, we sprinkle them out throughout the nation so that the local SVA chapters can actually drive to the event and attend there. We try to keep it low cost. We do cover the cost of their hotel while they're there, but the events are actually a way of us teaching our SVA business plan, which is just a chapter management plan, which teaches them strategic planning and budgeting so that they can be a local hub for those resources in their community, like I said earlier. Next is our Vet Center initiative, which, as I mentioned before, gives we have given out over $500,000 worth of money to student veterans to build vet centers on their campuses. They do have to be a chapter to participate in this program, but as part of the Vet Center initiative, you submit that business plan that we actually teach you how to create at the Leadership Institute. And the Vet Center is very important because that is a literal physical hub for student veterans to gather on their campus. As I mentioned before, they come with a unique set of challenges than your average student, and it's important for them to have that space in order to socialize and reminisce, and it's been proven to be effective in increasing retention and graduation rates as well. We also help student veterans tell their stories. Part of overcoming those unique set of challenges is how we like to tell those stories of how student veterans are successful on their campuses, both in the capacity as a chapter leader or a chapter advisor, and we feature those on our website so that the general public can learn from those experiences as well as inspire our constituency. We also have an advocacy team here. Our Government Affairs Department does the protection of the GI Bill. As a part of us being critical to the implementation of the GI Bill at the outset, we also are very focused on continuing to protect that. Our Government Affairs team has great relationships with the House Veterans Affairs Committee, the Senate Veterans Affairs Committees, and as you can see, we even get to shake hands with some bigwigs once in a while, which is very exciting. And we get to attend events around here pertaining to student veterans issues. We speak on them. Our President CEO, Jared Lyon, actually just recently spoke before a panel on the House Veterans Affairs Committee in support of an omnibus bill. So research, as I mentioned earlier, is a big component of what we do here. It's important for us to be able to prioritize what issues we want to be supporting and or against in terms of our policy team, our government affairs team, or just allocating our resources overall in terms of funds and chapter grants and stuff like that. This research, which we touched on earlier, like I said, it tells us about what our constituency is so that we can know the best way to help them. And I encourage you guys to check that out, like I said, on our website whenever you guys are ready to do that. Our national conference is the world's largest gathering of student veterans. That's going to be happening, this is from last year's conference, this little tidbit right here. But this year it'll be January 5th through the 7th. We had it at Disney World last year in Orlando. This year it'll be in Anaheim, California at Disneyland, the 5th through the 7th. But it's our flagship event every year. We prepare for it every year for the entire year. And it's a great way for student veterans to come and learn some of those tools that we teach at the Leadership Summit, as well as network with each other and with us to learn about the resources that we have to offer them. So finally, I guess to tie this all together, I would like to reiterate the point that as a chapter-based organization, having those 1,400 chapters around the country, we believe that they serve as a hub for resources in those local communities. So they might not necessarily be focused on preventing homelessness amongst veterans as a priority issue. But I know, speaking from personal experience for working at my vet center on my campus, it was more of a community center than just for student veterans that were attending the school. So we had veterans from the community come in there and ask us for help to be connected with, whether it be someone to help them fill out their VA disability paperwork, or find housing, or just talk about some struggles that they might be having. As part of those SVA chapters being a hub for those resources, they can be a great resource for the community overall. So I encourage all of you to check out that SVA chapter directory, find out if there's an SVA chapter in your community, and then reach out to them and ask how they might be able to help you in your mission for helping veterans around the country. And with that, I will turn it back to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate all that, and we will probably have some questions for you shortly.
Absolutely.
Our next presenter is Joe Cafferty from Team Rubicon. Joe is the Region 3 Readiness Associate at Team Rubicon, where he works with volunteer leaders to ensure that volunteers are better prepared to respond to disasters. Joe prefers to wear Silky's work boots and gloves on a work site by day, and keeps a hygiene kit and a spare suit in the car to attend local donor and partner events by night. So with that great introduction, Joe, it's you.
Hi everyone. First off, I want to thank you all for tuning in today and for the work that you guys do. And thank you, Cindy, for setting this up. As Cindy mentioned, my name is Joe Cafferty. I'm the Region 3 Readiness Associate for Team Rubicon. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Team Rubicon, we're a nonprofit, volunteer-led disaster response organization. So we unite the skills and experiences of military veterans with first responders to rapidly deploy emergency response teams around the world. Next slide, please. So we differ from other disaster response organizations in that we have a dual mission. We focus on disaster response as well as veteran transition. So by repurposing those skills and experiences that veterans gained while in the military and utilizing them in disaster response, we're able to create a continued opportunity for them to serve, thereby helping them transition into the civilian world. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our history. We were formed in 2010 by two Marines, Jake Wood and Will McNulty. So in response to the earthquakes in Haiti, Jake and Will, along with 6 other volunteers, flew into the Dominican Republic, and they crossed from the Dominican Republic into Haiti, and in doing so, they crossed their Rubicon, their point of no return, hence the name Team Rubicon. And they were able to provide medical assistance to thousands of people affected by the earthquake. They were able to go places that other larger aid organizations weren't, utilizing the skills they gained as a scout sniper and as an intel Marine. And they were very successful in this. And over the years, we've responded to a lot of disasters. And quite a few of them have changed the way we do things as an organization, shaped us as an organization. So Hurricane Sandy, for instance, it really put us on the national level as far as relevance is concerned. Fast forward to 2016, we've currently got 55 full-time employees, 200 volunteer leaders, and over 40,000 members. Next slide, please. So those 40,000 members are divided between 10 regions throughout the United States. So no matter where you're calling in from, chances are there's something Team Rubicon is doing near you. Next slide. So a little bit about our numbers concerning operations and membership. So since that first operation in 2010 in Haiti, we've now responded to over 150 disasters around the world. This year alone, we responded to 41. So currently, Hurricane Matthew on the East Coast, we've got 4 operations running right now in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. And we're currently standing up an operation in North Carolina, as well as a couple other operations domestically. Internationally, we're in Greece right now, providing medical assistance to refugee camps. And our membership base has grown substantially as well. I mentioned 40,000 volunteers. So from 6 to 40,000 in 6 years, nearly 7 years now. So we're growing at a rate of approximately 200 volunteers a week. Next slide, please. To give you a breakdown of our membership, we pride ourselves in the diversity of our membership and our inclusiveness as an organization. I mentioned that we're a volunteer-based organization, that we focus on veteran integration, but veterans account for about 75% of our members. The other 25% are what we like to call kick-ass civilians and first responders. And a wide age range as well, so everyone from people who are just graduated high school to Vietnam veterans and everything in between. It's really impressive to meet our members and realize how diverse they are. Interesting fact, 94% have completed some college. So overall, we're a pretty well-educated organization. And then on the right there gives you an idea of the breakdown of our veteran population as far as percentages from military service they were in. Next slide, please. I'm going to give you an idea of a typical operation. So an operation Double Trouble in Wimberley, Texas, Over the course of a month, we deployed 193 volunteers. And this gives you a breakdown, and give you an idea, 69 were first responders or kick-ass civilians, and the rest were military veterans from 41 states. So despite the fact that they were from different backgrounds and different parts of the country, these volunteers came together. They completed 149 work orders over the course of that month, putting in almost 15,000 volunteer hours. And to kind of give you an idea of the culture that Team Rubicon breeds, 4 actual tattoos were applied during this operation. So 4 of those 193 members had actual Team Rubicon tattoos somewhere on their body. Next slide, please. Now, during that operation, we're able to provide assistance. So we help people on the road to recovery, and that at no cost to them, except for maybe a hug at some times. And in doing so, we're not just helping them, but we're helping ourselves. So through disaster response, we're able to regain a sense of purpose, community built by serving others, and identity created by joining a new mission. Next slide, please. Now, I mentioned purpose and community identity, and we poll our volunteers. We want to know what they're gaining from Team Rubicon and how we can improve the organization as a whole. So in a recent poll, 80% of our members reported being more satisfied with life following TR service. 97% reported a sense of community. And 82% reported an increase in energy following participation. So it's interesting to see what our members are gaining from this, as well as the ways they contribute to society. Next slide, please. So it's a pretty common sentiment. I myself am a Marine Corps veteran. This is not me here, but this quote kind of demonstrates what our members gain from the organization. I think a lot of us, we miss that sense of camaraderie fostered by shared experience and that sense of belonging. And a lot of our members are able to regain that through service with Team Rubicon. I'll just give you a second here to read his quote. Next slide, please. So we understand that not everyone can take time out of their lives, take 2 days or 5 days or 2 weeks and deploy to a disaster somewhere around the world. So in between and in preparation for disasters, we try to keep volunteers engaged through various avenues, including community service, training, and social events. So in the DC area, for instance, we've got some great partnerships, including partnerships with the National Park Service and Habitat for Humanity, and we provide our volunteers with opportunities to continue to serve locally within their community. We offer a variety of training as well. You can see in the background there, we got one of our members operating a chainsaw. We do a pretty great chainsaw course, as well as a heavy equipment operators course, wildland firefighting course, and even an applied suicide intervention skills training workshop. And then social events. Sometimes volunteers just want to unwind. So, we've got approximately 60 volunteers deployed in Virginia right now. When they get back, they're going to want to hang out with the same people they're on the op with. So we'll often offer a social opportunity for them to do so. And they get to know other volunteers on a more personal level. Next slide. I briefly alluded to our partnerships, and chief among them are our partnerships with the U.S. Department of Interior, the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So through our partnership with the BLM, we've been able to train hundreds of our members as wildland firefighters. So they've gotten what's called their red card certification that allows them to fight wildland firefighters in the U.S., fight wildland fires in the U.S. So if the BLM needs additional personnel, they will actually activate our volunteers as administratively determined employees, and they'll pay them to respond to fires throughout the country. So it's been an avenue for our volunteers to get either full-time seasonal employment with the BLM or part-time work during the season when they need to supplement crews. Additionally, our partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, utilizing their training curriculum, we train our volunteers to operate heavy equipment, including skid steers and excavators and things of that sort. So it's a really great partnership because they've got an absurd amount of backlog projects at wildlife refuges throughout the country. So by training our members with their curriculum, that allows them to operate on any refuge in the country. And we do service projects for them. So for instance, in Maryland, about 2 or 3 months ago, we trained up 10 members, and it culminated in a service project on a wildlife refuge in Maryland. And we completed a project for them that would have cost them approximately $500,000 if they were to outsource it. So it benefits us, it benefits them. and our members gain certifications that can lead to real jobs. So next slide, please. If you have any interest or you have someone that you know that may have interest, please send them to teamrubiconusa.org, or you can have them email me directly. My email is Cafferty, C-A-F-F-E-R-T-Y, at teamrubiconusa.org. Thank you again for having me. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Joe. We appreciate it. Our next speaker is Alicia Downs. She may be showing up on your screen as Casey Messler, but she is Alicia Downs. She's the National Outreach Manager with the Mission Continues, and she's been there since January of 2015. She was raised in Southern California and enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps right after high school. Upon honorable discharge, she went on to earn her undergraduate degree in psychology from Wesleyan College and her graduate degree in social work from the University of Southern California. So Alicia, take it away, please. Alicia, I believe you have muted yourself on your computer. Can you unmute so we can hear you?
Okay, because I dialed in. I didn't want
feedback. There we are.
Is
now
that
we
better?
Can hear you. That's better. Yep.
Okay. So I was saying that it's nice to meet all of you. A lot of you I've met in different visits throughout the country as well as here in the DC area. I have the one slide because I'd like to try to keep it simple for you. And feel free to take notes and we'll definitely take questions at the end. So the Mission Continues is a national nonprofit that empowers veterans and inspires future generations through volunteer service in their local communities. We provide 3 programs that do this. The first is actually our newest program, and that is our mass deployments. The mass deployments launched this year in Detroit, and it's a week-long service intensive open to veterans of all age and status and generation. These mass deployments kickstart our operations. Our operations are our second program led by our service platoons. Service platoons are open to veterans and non-veterans of all generations in cities across the country. Operations are a coordinated strategic effort to address a community-identified issue. So we let the community tell us what they'd like to see, and we build a plan to help them achieve that vision. These operations are designed to be long-term, sustainable, substantive, and ongoing. Complementing our service platoon is our third program, our fellowship. The fellowship is more of a one-on-one program. This is an opportunity for a veteran with at least 24 months total post 9/11 service to dedicate 600 hours almost of volunteer service to a nonprofit they choose in their local community. As part of the fellowship, they are offered a cost of living stipend. The amount is based on the zip code where they live. While it's not enough to make sure that they eat steak every night, it is enough to make sure that they eat every night. There are four cohorts that we host annually, kicked off with our orientation weekend. We've just wrapped up our recruiting for our Alpha class of 2017 and now recruiting for our Bravo class of 2017. And that'll be followed by Charlie and Delta later in the year. You can also serve with an organization that is in your community and supporting our operations. So those are our 3 programs. Now, how do our programs benefit or impact veterans experiencing homelessness or facing homelessness? Well, one of the things that we do is we definitely help to build community and become a hub of resources in a particular area. So one thing that we do, because we don't provide a direct service or a clinical service, is we partner with organizations that can. So we have opportunities and partnerships with great organizations like Give an Hour, as well as more local and regional resources. We also have a great opportunity for veterans of all status to learn transitional skills, being able to take what they've learned in the military and apply it in a community, building a larger network that they access for additional learning and employment opportunities, but also a great way to really kind of learn how to apply those skills that they already have in a new way while acquiring new ones. It also is a great benefit of our program, the self-confidence and personal support systems that develop through all of our programs. We often refer to our orientation weekend as kind of a family reunion with a bunch of relatives that you didn't know you had yet. The great thing about veterans is there's always a sense of family and camaraderie, and once you identify another veteran in your area, it's really easy to connect. So we've had veterans apply for our program that were on the cusp of homelessness or just transitioning out of homelessness, being able to provide support to where another fellow provided the couch for that veteran to sleep on until they got their own place. So definitely a strong sense of family and organic support. And with that, a lot of our veterans describe experiencing a really kind of organic mentorship, not one that is hierarchical, but one that is very one-on-one, very sincere and authentic, and something that is long-lasting. If you look at our Facebook page for our Operation Motel Muster from this year, you'll see great examples of that. We brought veterans together from all over the country for a week of service in Detroit, and lots of long-lasting, fast-made friendships have developed from it. The other thing that our programs offer is we're actually helping communities and empowering communities to address homelessness themselves. We don't think that the Mission Continues offers a panacea by any means, but by bringing organizations together for a common purpose and cause, it really helps to kind of break down the walls in communication and bringing everybody together to really understand what's being offered already in their community and making those introductions so those resources are readily available and accessible. One thing that we love to be able to do is provide a warm handoff or referral for any of our veterans that have any questions or additional needs, and that's something that I think is a unique benefit to our programs. And now I'll hand it back to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Our next speaker is Evan Cantiello from Back on My Feet. Evan joined Back on My Feet in 2001 after working in an adolescent violence reduction partnership through Shalom Inc. in Covenant House, Pennsylvania, a safe haven for youth 21 and under. Since joining Back on My Feet, Evan has served as the Member Services Manager, Philadelphia Program Director, and is now the National Program Director. Evan feels incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to work with all the program staff members across Back on My Feet to create safe and impactful communities. When Evan is not running, you can find him riding through Philadelphia on his bike. So Evan, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Just one quick correction. I started in 2011 with Back on My Feet, which is a good segue into our founding story. In 2007 in Philadelphia, our founder, Ann Malum, was going on her morning run, and she encountered a shelter, and there were a few guys outside who would talk with her while she took a break during her morning run. Oftentimes she felt the profound disconnect from running away from them and feeling like she wished she could do something more than just chat and buy an occasional cup of coffee. So after a few more conversations, she suggested that these guys come on a run with her. A few months later, there was a small team put together, and she was outfitting these guys with shoes. And many runs later, Back on My Feet has become a national organization operating in 11 major cities across the coast. Soon to be 12. We are launching our San Francisco team. We'll have boots on the ground November 18th. And the idea behind our program is very simple. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 in the morning, we're out in all of our cities running as a team. We have volunteers that come out who give up their sleep very early in the morning and commit to contributing to a positive, healthy start to everybody's day. Our model is simple, that we work with emergency housing and transitional housing facilities. So a lot of people, when they hear this, they say, wait a second, you are running with homeless people. And that can seem a bit odd and a bit quirky, and we're very proud of that because most people don't believe that a program like that could work. There's so many other problems that folks who are experiencing homelessness have to manage and deal with. It seems like adding something like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go on a 2-3 mile run while training for a 5K or maybe a marathon makes no sense. But we have over 1,000 members running every morning across the country. and an additional 2,000 volunteers that come out with us. Aside from the running piece, we have a very robust program that our members go through. In each of our cities, we have referral partners to address the myriad of needs of folks who are experiencing homelessness, from mental health to substance abuse to the more profound problem of finding affordable and sustainable housing. So after somebody runs with us for 30 consecutive days and they maintain 90% attendance, they move into our next steps programming. And this programming consists of, like I had mentioned, our referral partners, but those also include employment partnerships as well. And the way we prep folks who are experiencing homelessness for the workforce is by working closely with Accenture to deliver their Tools for Success curriculum. We also have financial literacy classes, computer literacy classes, and one of our most fantastic resources is our financial aid program. And this is our blunt force instrument to remove a barrier for any one of our members on their journey towards independence. So if somebody comes to us, we can give them all the training in the world, but if they get an interview and they don't have the money to pay for transportation, they can apply for financial aid to get a trans pass for that day. The same goes for trainings like a forklift certification training, which we do in many of our chapters in-house, as well as ServSafe certifications and a number of other upskilling certifications and trainings across the U.S. So our demographics are not entirely veterans. We are serving 25% of veterans. Not all of them have active duty wartime status, but it's a significant portion of the people that we're serving. And the idea is really simple. We're leveraging the power of community, the power of running to build up self-esteem and confidence, because this is the #1 resource we see lacking in our population. Oftentimes they're forgotten about by friends or family. They have lived experience of having been on the street, and people walk by them every day without giving them a second glance. We just had our annual bash last night in Philadelphia as well in LA, and one of our members got up and spoke and said, you know, I thought my whole life, because of my upbringing, because of the lack of supports I had in my family life, that I was a person who was going to be alone for the rest of their life. So he jumped on this very odd journey of getting up with his alarm at 5 in the morning and donning his running shoes and coming out and making a group of friends that at first he was very skeptical of, but then realized that he was just as odd and quirky as the rest of those folks coming up at 5 in the morning. So there's a couple of things we're battling. We're battling homelessness. We're battling isolation and loneliness. There's a lot of really strong evidence out there saying that running could be, or just aerobic exercise, is a fantastic tool for managing depression and anxiety. And one of our more profound ideas that we're pushing now is that EMDR therapy, which is a rapid eye movement therapy while revisiting trauma, is a very strong cognitive behavioral therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, in a sense, we are recreating this on our morning runs. As people run, you can only run together so long in silence before it gets awkward. You just have to say something. So very naturally, our members share their stories and our volunteers share their stories. And oftentimes they revisit very difficult times in their life. Now, if you do that while you're running, you have a tendency to, your eyes are darting around and you are looking at the ground, making sure you don't trip over anything, looking at your surroundings. So this is very anecdotal, so take it for what it's worth, but we've reported self-reports from our member to indicate that there's quite a bit of resilience being built as a result of sharing their narrative and navigating some complex histories in their own lives. And when it comes to specifically youth, in 2017 we'll be targeting 18 to 25-year-old demographic within a subset population within individuals experiencing homelessness, specifically in our Austin, Chicago, and Atlanta chapters. So The really fantastic thing is the barriers for coming out and being part of the back of my seat is just getting up with your alarm. So if you're an early morning person, you don't even have to be a runner. I promise you don't have to be a runner. A lot of our folks come out and they've never run a day in their life. But if you're interested in coming out and volunteering with us, I encourage you to go to backofmyseat.org, see if we have a chapter in your city, and go to the Run With Us page. We do incredible work with our volunteers, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get out, start your day in a healthy way, and have a conversation with somebody you likely wouldn't have in your normal day-to-day. So with that, I will kick it back to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Evan. We really appreciate that. We have one more speaker. Last but certainly not least, we have Brennan Mulaney from Team Red, White, and Blue. Brennan joined Team Red, White, and Blue as the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director and Washington, D.C. Chapter Captain. He has a Master of Arts degree in Law and Diplomacy from the Fletcher School at Tufts University. A veteran himself, Brennan's service in the U.S. Army included 2 deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's originally from Maryland and is a 2005 graduate of the United States Military Academy, as well as an avid outdoorsman, bluegrass fan, cyclist, and distance runner. So with that, Brennan.
Great, Cindy. Thank you. I appreciate the welcome, and I didn't know I was going to get the bio introduction, but it's nice to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit with you all this afternoon about Team Red, White, and Blue. And I'll also, before I dive in, say that I have worked with and interfaced with all the other organizations that have shared today, and they're all fantastic in their own right. So I'd encourage you to take the time to seek them out. But so Team Red, White, and Blue, much like a couple of our colleagues who have gone before me, we're a national nonprofit and veteran service organization. If you go on to the next slide, Cindy, you'll see that our mission is to enrich the lives of America's veterans by connecting them to their community through physical and social activity. In our organization's view, as I direct your attention to the bottom, a rich life consists of 3 things. It consists of health, people, and purpose, and our organization in some kind of way tries to provide those things to everyone who touches it. Whether you're able to get involved with the organization and maybe drop a few pounds or run your first 5K or try a new sport, maybe you're there and able to make some relationships in your community, or maybe your involvement with our organization has restored, that sense of purpose or provided that sense of purpose, which is something that, veterans often lose in their transition and subsequent, reintegration into the community. Next slide, please. So at Team Red, White, and Blue, we have what we call our Eagle ethos, which is really our values. It's our shared set of guiding beliefs and ideals that really characterize our community. And our expectation is that if you interface with our team or you visit any one of our chapters across the country, you're going to find these things. You're going to find passion. You're going to find a great group of people who are care about you as a person. You're going to find positivity. You're going to find a commitment to each other. You're going to find a commitment to this team. You're going to find camaraderie among your fellow teammates, and you're going to find community. And that's something that we're really building on every level. We take pride of our organization being a community of communities, and so whether you touch our chapter here in the DC area where I live, or if you're down in Charlotte, North Carolina, or out in Seattle, you're going to find a team that welcomes you. And whether you travel or you plug into a new team or you move, regardless of where you find yourself, hopefully you'll find that similar experience wherever you find our team. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit of a breakdown of our impact by the numbers. I'll sort of start on the left side of the slide. We have the country broken down by 8 regions, of which I oversee our Mid-Atlantic operation. In total, we have about 113,000 members in our organization. And those are people who have gone online to teamrdb.org, signed up, and joined our team. It's really as simple as that. We do not have membership fees. We have no fundraising requirement to get involved. And while we are a veteran service organization, we're also an inclusive organization. So we welcome everyone to join our team. We believe that the community and those that support veterans play a critical role in this reintegration challenge. And as a result, we want them to come out and participate and get to know veterans in their community and their families, and by virtue of that, the veterans get to know those in the community around them, and whether they've separated back to their hometown or they've followed a spouse or a job to a new community. It's great for them to know that there are people there who are willing to support them and get to know them. We currently have about 203 locations across the country. These are what we would call chapters. These chapters are really kind of the meat and potatoes of Team Red, White, and Blue. They're all volunteer-led. As you can see, there's 1,882 volunteer leaders out there that are really facilitating the local consistent activities that are bringing people together over something positive. These activities generally take a physical or social form, but really at the end of the day, it's less important about what we're doing, and it's more important about why we're doing it, and that's to build relationships. So, whether it's a yoga class or a fun run or a cycling ride or a service project or even just getting together to go to a baseball game or a barbecue, it's really about an opportunity to connect with others and engage in your community. There's some statistics on the right side of the slide. I'm not really going to, get into them too much in detail, but they're really the veteran and civilian interactions are essentially an instance in which a veteran or civilian came out and participated with our team. There's thousands of events going on. All the chapters that I mentioned are facilitating events, usually 1, 2, sometimes 7, 8, 10 events a week, or opportunities to come out and get together with people and your teammates. And we also facilitate athletic and leadership camps, which are opportunities where we essentially pluck members from our chapters, put them through a 3 to 4 day camp where they're taught a discipline usually related to a sport or an activity of sorts, but they're also then taught our proprietary leader development curriculum and empowered to go back into their community and to be a leader or to continue to be a leader, whether that's with our organization or otherwise. I'm assuming they'll circulate the slides, but there's a great study that our friends up at IVMF did. There's a hyperlink to that at the bottom of the slide that if you have some extra time, I'd encourage you to kind of read a little bit more about some of the outcomes-based findings we've had with what we've been doing in our organization for the last 5 years. Next slide. So our strategy is really simple, and it mirrors up pretty nicely to our programs. Our organization is all about engagement and leader development. We are really trying to provide simple, low barrier, low cost ways for people to come out and get engaged with others in their community and to do it over something that's positive and healthy. In order to really facilitate those opportunities and to build this organization, we've learned that we need to invest back into our people, specifically those who are leading our chapters across the country. And so we have an entire program now that's tailored to providing them the skills and support needed to continue to lead. We are in the process of building our own online e-learning platform and a number of just different things that we're doing to really tell these folks that they can continue to lead and they continue to have a role to play in their community. And we truly believe that if we have stronger leaders, we're going to have a stronger organization, but more importantly, we're going to have stronger communities and a stronger nation. Next slide, please, Cindy. So our strategy sort of mirrors our programs. As an organization, we actually only have 2 programs. It's our chapter and community program, as I mentioned, which is the local, consistent, inclusive opportunities. Their fitness activities, their social gatherings, their community service events. They're really whatever the local chapter wants to do and what people are wanting to come out and get involved with. And then the leader development program that I just mentioned. Next slide. So here's kind of a little bit about what makes this different. As I mentioned, we are local in 203 locations. In each of those locations, you'll find a way to interact with our team every single week. Oftentimes in many locations multiple times or several times a week. And then we're inclusive. As I indicated, everyone and anyone can join. It's simply going to teamrdb.org, providing us your email address and a little bit of information about yourself, and you're in. And from there, we would encourage folks, we provide them with the resources to get out with their local chapter, and we'd encourage them to go just do that and get plugged in. I don't know if intervention is the right word, but we are really low cost and we're low barrier. And what we found is, and Evan alluded to in his comments, is that when we can get out with people, we start to learn things about them. We build relationships, we understand kind of maybe some of the things that they're working through, challenges or otherwise, and based on that, we're then able to use our network of partners and really start to get at some of those maybe more acute needs, and provide them the support and the resources they need in that regard. One of the things about organizations, we definitely and always have viewed veterans as assets. Our vets have had phenomenal experiences and have the opportunity to continue to serve and make our country better, and we want to provide them all the opportunity to do that. And then, it's been said in a couple different ways, but we really try to get some of the root causes of many of the issues, specifically in the veteran community that are out there. Isolation and hopelessness and lack of purpose. And so by attacking those root causes, we're seeing really positive outcomes. I don't think there's really a need to go through the right side of the slide, but really just to kind of hammer it home, we're an engagement organization, and we try to make it really easy for people to come out and get involved and have fun. And in the process, they meet people, their health improves, and ultimately they feel like they have some purpose and they're a part of a team, which as humans we're all really wired to want to be a part of. So I think with that, I think that might be the end of it. One more, Cindy. Yep, this is just sort of a breakdown of our chapters and regionally, so there's not a lot of information in there, but I don't know if our information goes out with the notes or anything, but if anyone out there has questions or wants to get in touch with me, my email is brennan.mulaney@teamrwb.org, or you can visit teamrwb.org and either join or look for more information there. So I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Brennan, and thank you to all of our speakers. We do have a few questions that have come in, and please, if you have other questions, feel free to keep asking them. The first question we have is around transitions, and specifically this question is around veterans who are transitioning from school to the world of work, and what kind of support each of your organizations could offer to those veterans who might be in a vulnerable position as they are looking for both employment and housing, and how to help them in that transition so that they don't fall into homelessness.
I'd like to tackle that if I may. The Mission Continues Fellowship Program is really a great opportunity, not only for student veterans in particular, because it offers them an opportunity to take those skills that they're learning about in the classroom and start to apply them in not quite a formal internship because we aren't affiliated with the school, but in a real-world work scenario setting. So volunteer work is a great way to build a resume, especially when you're coming out of an educational setting. And the cost of living stipend is an added benefit that we offer in addition to any education benefits that they might be drawing, but it's definitely a supplement to the budget.
Great, thank you, Alicia. Did anybody else want to add to what they do? They could help a veteran in that situation?
Yeah, Mark with SVA here, I think this kind of falls in our wheelhouse. Just to kind of piggyback off what Alicia was saying, the resume is obviously an important component to getting work, starting a career, and we try to facilitate that through our Google Resume Workshop. So we partner with Google. We have a variety of corporate partners that help support the great work that we do here. I think someone mentioned, I think Evan mentioned Accenture earlier. They're also one of our partners. I think we have a lot of overlap in terms of that. But Google, we partner with them, and they put on resume workshops across the country. We did that earlier this year, where it was I think it was between 20 and 25 of their different offices across the country actually just had 10 or 15 of their employees volunteer to help go over the resume of student veterans. They filled out a simple application, and then just prior to their graduation, they could get that in order. We also attempt to facilitate interactions with those corporate partners and our various SVA chapters ahead of time. So we hope that the SVA chapter can build a relationship with a corporate partner in the area. For example, at the University of Arizona in Tucson, where I went to school, we had a great relationship with Raytheon, which is by far one of the largest employers in the Tucson area. So it was a great way to facilitate, right from graduation to get student veterans who had relevant career fields right into one of the best employers in the local area.
Great, thank you, Mark. Did anybody else want to add to that one, or?
Yeah, Joe Cafferty from Team Rubicon here. I'm going to piggyback on what Alicia spoke to about fellowships. Team Rubicon also offers a fellowship for our volunteers. It's a one-year fellowship program. And as Alicia mentioned, I can't stress the importance enough of gaining experience through volunteer service. Personally, I was a Mission Continues fellow, and for me, going through their program, I was able to gain a lot of experience, and volunteering with Team Rubicon. So through our fellowship program, the first 3 months of the fellowship is a self-discovery phase. So they kind of figure out who they are, what they're looking for, and from there they choose a project to work on within the organization. So the other 7, 8 months, you're able to gain experience, and then the last portion is presenting it and determining its effectiveness within the organization. So it's a good way to gain experience outside of professionally paid experience.
Great, thank you, Joe. Our next question, there's sort of is a specific population question, and it comes from to see if any of you are doing any specific kind of outreach or specific programming focusing on Alaskan veterans, veterans in Alaska, if any of you have anything to serve that particular population.
So this is Brennan from Team Red, White, and Blue. I guess what I would offer, we have chapters in Alaska, and I'm sort of in the process of pulling up exactly where they are because that's not my region, but they're probably co-located. There's a Fairbanks chapter and an Anchorage-based chapter, so you can find them on our website and the volunteer leaders who lead those 2 areas, and if folks are in that area, we'd love to get them plugged in.
Great, thank you, Brennan.
So the Mission Continues doesn't have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, the Mission Continues doesn't have a service platoon in Alaska yet, but that's definitely in our future plans. One thing that is available all over the country is our fellowship program, so that's fabulous, and they can also apply for our mass deployments program. The information is always available at missioncontinues.org/get-involved, and anyone is always welcome to email me directly at A as in Alpha, D as in Delta, OWNS@missioncontinues.org.
Great, thank you, Alicia. And there was also a related question, which was to a couple of different folks, so I'll let you each answer it, which is if there isn't currently a chapter or an affiliate where someone is, how can they connect to your organization? And Alicia, I think you just answered that for the Mission Continues, but for anybody else, if there isn't a chapter or a location where an organization or a veteran is, how can they connect with you and the services that you provide?
I would love to jump in there, even though we are currently back in my seat launching in San Francisco, and we are all tasked with 1,000 different things. There is a portion on our website that you can request a chapter, and we do monitor those very closely. The top requested chapters as we were preparing to target a new region was San Francisco and Colorado. Denver specifically. So we do compile that list. If you're interested in getting a back in my seat chapter in your city, by all means, go to the website and please request.
Yeah,
Great,
Mark
thank
here.
you, Evan.
Oh, sorry. Mark here with SVA. Yeah, I would be happy to facilitate any interaction you'd like to have with SVA. As part of my job as outreach coordinator, that is of course one of my duties and responsibilities. More than happy to help you guys out there. You can always call the main number here. It's 202-223-4710. And if there's any way that we can help you guys out in what you're trying to accomplish in your community, I'll be sure to connect you with either a resource in the local area, or if we can do anything here from the national office, I'm more than happy to do that.
Great, thank you, Mark. We have time, I think, for, go ahead, was someone else going to answer?
I was just going to say ditto for Team RB, Cindy. We add about 2 to 3 chapters every month. There's a spot on our website where you can start a chapter, and really all it takes is somebody with a desire to make it happen and to do a little leadership, and then our regional directors work closely with you to make it happen.
Great, thanks, Joe. The last question, even though the focus of this webinar was really connecting with younger veterans, we did have a question about how each of your organizations interact with older veterans, and specifically Vietnam era veterans, and what place there is for those type of veterans in your organizations.
Yeah, I'd love to take that very briefly. I know we're short on time, but we see 2 major issues with Vietnam vets in our program. We make a very concerted effort to provide them the supportive services they need. One is mental health, two is physical disability. So we are a running program in title, but we do have many folks that come out and walk. We have many folks who are wheelchair bound, blind runners as well, and we make accommodations for any and all folks who are interested in coming out. So we make sure that we make those accommodations as well as have a robust network of referrals to meet the needs of our Vietnam vets.
Thank you, Evan. Anybody else want to answer that one in our last sort of minute that we have?
Yeah, Mark here again. I'd be happy to. It is not a requirement of our organization at all to be a post 9/11 veteran. We define a veteran as anyone, or a student veteran. We define a student veteran as anyone who is in school and anyone who has served. There's no other stipulation other than that. We have a number of chapter leaders who I've met myself who fall very much outside of the window of post 9/11 veterans and a few Vietnam veterans as well. And we very much encourage them to get involved with our local chapters and participate in our national programs as well.
Great. Well, I'd like to... Yes, go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, with the mission continues, while our fellowship program is focused on post 9/11 veterans, our other programs are open to veterans of all generations. And we see great partnerships and relationships that get built between our older generations of veterans and our younger. So they're definitely welcome to come out. Mass deployments as well. A lot of life experience and skills that we can definitely learn from.
Great,
and the same goes
you.
for Team Rubicon. There's a job for everyone within the organization. 27% of our members are over the age of 50. So not strictly post 9/11 veterans. There's a wide variety of ages within the organization.
Thank you, Joe. So we are at 3:01, and I do try to respect folks' time. If there are any outstanding questions that we didn't get to, I will actually forward that to the speakers and ask them to give me a quick response. I think we did get through most of the questions. I would like to just thank Brennan, Evan, Alicia, Joe, and Mark for your time and for sharing what your organizations do and how the folks that we work with who are serving homeless veterans can connect to them. Thank you all for all of the work that you do every day on behalf of veterans. We appreciate it. And the webinar has been recorded. It will be posted on our website within the next probably day or two. But you can also look for an email with a copy of the webinar recording. And please fill out your surveys so that we can make sure that all of our webinars are helpful in the future. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.